Leslie, quick question.
Yes, sir.
We did get an email where the subject line said that the Planning Commission meeting was canceled. We got that before we got the revised one that, affirmed the meeting tonight. I guess there might be a chance that the chair isn't aware.
Yeah, that was there was a communication mistake where some of our administrative staff had published the cancellation. So thank you. Let me send a quick, let me see if I can make a phone call really quick and give him a call. Thanks. Good tip. I tried to call the chair and he did not answer either his cell phone or his home phone. So, and we emailed him this afternoon. He received 2 emails. So maybe he's just tied up and maybe he'll join us as soon as he can. I'm going to continue to watch the attendee list just in case he doesn't get in as a panelist, and then we can promote him. But I think we should probably, in the interest of time and the public respect, we should get started if that's okay.
All right. So welcome. Welcome to the June 10th, 2020 of the Seaside Planning Commission meeting. Can we please have roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Wynn? Commissioner Silva?
Here.
Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner Lamica?
Present.
Commissioner Dodson?
Present.
Vice Chair Spalletta?
Present.
Chair Owens? For the record, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is a review of the agenda. If there are any items that arose after the 72-hour posting deadline, this is the point in the meeting where a vote may be taken to add the item to the agenda. A 2/3 majority vote is required.
Through the chair, we have received, and Ms. Stearns, would you like to speak? Or Mr. Medina, would you like to speak to the changes to the agenda?
Sure. So this is Community Development Director Gloria Stearns, and I'm just stepping in to let you know that we have had some items withdrawn for tonight. So our first item was actually listed on the agenda as withdrawn. Your second business item has also been withdrawn. So maybe Mr. Vice Chair, you would just like to read those titles so that way the public is aware of what they are and then just state that they're withdrawn. That would be beneficial. And then we could go on to the third item and conduct our business tonight.
All right. Shall I read those as I approach those items?
That would be helpful for the public, please. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item would be public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council on matters within the jurisdiction of the City of Seaside, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Public comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. For the public record, please state your name.
Mr. Chair, we have not received any general public comment via email, but if any member who is listening via the webinar would like to raise their hand, I can unmute them and they can speak for up to 3 minutes.
We'll give it a couple minutes here.
Through the chair, should be read as Planning Commission, not City Council.
My apologies.
Yes, and that's a standard language. I will make sure that's updated. Thank you. And I don't see any members participating via the webinar have raised their hand. So
Moving on to the next approval of the minutes.
through the chair, the minutes were not included. I had anticipated getting them ready, but I just did not have time. So I apologize. Please withdraw that from consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Now, moving on to the business items. Item A, use permit application number UP-20-04. And this item has been withdrawn. Shall I go further into?
That would be helpful for the public in case they're here for that item.
The City of Seaside property owner and Marina Coast Water District applicant are requesting a use permit to construct a new sewer lift station. The project site is located at 630 Monterey Road in the RS8 zoning district. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, Marina Coast Water District has adopted a mitigated negative declaration for the project, and this item has been withdrawn. Moving on to item B, minor use permit application number MUP-20-01. William Q, property owner, and David Vargas, applicant, are requesting a minor use permit to operate an indoor cannabis manufacturing business within Suite 21 of the professional office building generally located at 911 to 915 Hillby Avenue in the Community Commercial Zoning District. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, the project is categorically exempt Class 1, Section 15301. This item has also been withdrawn. And I guess that just leaves us on to item C, to discuss the modifications to 2020-2021 work plan to address new budget and staffing constraints. You know, even though those items were withdrawn, should we have had a comment from the public?
Since you're not making a decision on the items, you're not required to take public comment. It's only according to the Brown Act when you're going to make a decision, do you have to receive public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, back to item C.
Leslie, if you would with the PowerPoint, please. So good evening, commissioners. We talked about the work plan already this year, and I just want to revisit it in light of our staffing constraints and in light of our budgetary constraints. So I just want to refresh everybody for a minute. We were going to look at fence regulations, establish some ADU regulations, look at a tree ordinance, conduct our sign code, business surveys, and we had already begun that one, by the way. Zoning code cleanup, which is in process already, and that's part of our general plan process. Conclude our general plan update. We really have to finish that this year, as well as pursuing educational opportunities. And I think that was something that was important to this particular commission because you're charged with executing a lot of regulations that come down from the state. And so we were going to keep our eyes peeled for training opportunities so that way we could do it. And one thing that's good that's come out of this pandemic has been these Zoom meetings. So if we find training that we can do, it would be a lot easier for us because we might not have to road trip to get training for you. And then also collaboration with other boards, commissions, and committees. So Leslie, next slide, please. So what I did in our next slide is I just grayed out some and made them disappear. And what I took away was the tree ordinance and the sign code surveys. And the reason that I did that is because you are now speaking with the only person in the city of Seaside who will be doing planning until further notice. I am one person who's going to have to do everything related to community development, everything. From when somebody comes in with the garage issue, to a deck issue, to the Board of Architecture review, to zoning administration, to writing grants and executing things for you, as well as finishing your general plan update and executing things like SB2, SB330, and all those other lovely regulations we get down from the state. So I started taking things out because you have one person to do all the work. I kept the fence regulations in because I thought that that would be something that we might be able to try. And that's something that kind of drives us all crazy anyway. So let's make sure that we can update it as best we can into our new zoning code. I left the ADU regulations in just for one reason only. And I think we discussed this at one of our meetings, and that was in relationship to the ADUs currently, the regulations coming down from the state do not regulate height. And so we could end up with ADUs that could be 6 stories tall in somebody's backyard. And that would start to look a little weird. Imagine being out on the ocean and looking at Seaside with a bunch of 6-story ADUs in backyards. That would just be an odd characteristic for our city. So I thought maybe we might want to not be silent on that anymore and try to pull something together. And we also have a person who works part-time on ADUs, so we can have him help us craft those regulations. I removed the tree ordinance because I don't think that's going to make or break our community for a year. And the sign code business surveys is just going to be too intensive of reaching out to all the businesses. That's not possible. So the zoning code cleanup, I think we should just continue to keep doing as we find opportunities to fix our zoning code. And I would also encourage all of you to think about things that you look at in our zoning code. And if there are parts of it that drive you crazy, please shoot me an email. I would welcome your comments on things like that, because we're going to be looking at some of these items and trying to bring them home to conclusion. So issuing our new general plan update, issuing new zoning code this year. So if you have thoughts on anything ahead of time, that would be appreciated. So that way we can try to work it in sooner rather than later. We also need to conclude the general plan update. We have to do reports on that every year to the state, and it's getting more than embarrassing to have to tell them that it's not done yet. We had legal reasons why we didn't finish it, but now we just need to get that done. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's important to pursue educational opportunities because this board is different from others. I think you are required to know so many different types of regulations, not only locally, but with the state. So anytime we find educational opportunities, I think we should be able to try to prioritize those. And I did look in the draft budget, and I saw that there is some money in the draft budget still for this commission. There's not a lot, but I think there's some. And I would also
Gloria, we lost your connection.
I guess we're down another planner.
I've texted her just in case it's a technology issue.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
It comes and it goes, and I can't explain it.
Technology.
I would just say, take a look at what I've proposed. If you have thoughts on any of those, I welcome some guidance.
I will just say that given you're the last planner left standing, I'm surprised that you left as many on as you did, and your logic for leaving the ones that you did on the list there make perfect sense to me.
I have a comment as well, Gloria. When we first began discussing the fence regulations, I sent a lengthy memo to Rick with just at least some of my opinions on it, with the understanding, that he could then disseminate that to the other commissioners so that we comply with the Brown Act, and I wasn't sending those out. But that never happened. And then I think I resent it, but I know that, Rick was moving towards retirement. Is that something you've seen, or is that something I should circulate again? That might help even as a demarcation point for conversations.
I would suggest sharing it again, because over communicating right now with all of this staff turnover is better rather than not communicating enough. So please share.
Okay, and then another question I've got is on the ADU issue. Obviously, we default without a specific ordinance to the state regulations, so those would govern. the exception being the issue of height, which you've mentioned. Is there a way of doing something as simple as affirming the state with the exception that we have one, differential?
We would work with our city attorney to make sure we would craft the regulation in the simplest way possible. And again, because we're all working with such short staff.
And then the last question I've got for you is, you look at zoning, one of the things that I've noticed is City of Seaside really has no industrial zoning. Is there anywhere that we've looked at, including Fort Ord, where there might be opportunity for industrial zoning for the city for job creation or job base?
What we've been looking at is what would be called an employment zone. And in our employment zone, we're looking at opportunities for flex space. So our economic development director looks at flex space opportunities all the time, and particularly in some of our newer construction areas. So for example, they're carving out flex space opportunities at Campus Town. We're looking at flex space opportunities perhaps on Seaside East. We're looking at, and again, these are just speculation of just where we might be able to fit some of those, and perhaps at Main Gate. So we're trying to figure out where we can put opportunities, because we realize that costs us jobs. So a lot of times when economic development people go out and we're talking to people, we don't have a place to put some of the businesses that we're talking to. So I think we need to welcome that opportunity. So through the employment zoning and through looking for the flex space, we're trying to craft that out, but it hasn't been carved out as just flat out industrial. I worked in cities where they've had different types of industrial, but this is more of using the employment category and flex space. And again, remember, we're going to be moving to more of a form-based code in certain areas as well.
I appreciate that, and thank you for the explanation. And I guess what I'm getting at is, within that flex space, there are certain uses that may be a little more noxious that we don't want next to other uses, but they can be very vital to an area economy, and so producing jobs and whatnot. Traditionally that would be industrial, but as we call it, flex space, spaces that would allow for that kind of incubator and opportunity zones. That's what you're talking about, something that maybe would accommodate that?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Wasn't there like an upper parcel over in the former Fort Ord that was considered one of the final phases of development, where it was they were considering for kind of something similar to like what Sand City has going on right now?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. And I'd rather not speculate if I don't know.
Any other questions, commissioners? So, just, excuse me one moment. So, if there are any other comments or I guess now would be the time. Otherwise, thank you so much to the staff. Thank you. All right, let's see, moving on. Any reports from the commissioners?
Well, through the chair, would you like to take public comment on this item?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, anybody from the public would like to make a comment? Please do so.
Mr. Miller, you are unmuted if you'd like to speak on this item.
Yes, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you so much to the city staff. I know Leslie and has been working, and the resources just aren't there anymore. And same with Gloria. So thank you, Gloria. I know you're doing a fantastic job with just yourself. My name is Alex Miller. I am the chair of the Neighborhood Improvement Commission, and I want to speak on item 8. And item 8 is collaboration with other boards and commissions. And I welcome collaborating with you guys. I look forward to it. I know we can work together and make Seaside a better place when we all get together and start talking about improvements. So I just want to say that item 8 is important to me. Us all being together as different commissions will make the city a better place. and I'm set for that. So thank you to the vice chair. You've ran a great meeting, and I look forward to continue going to planning commission meetings, and hopefully somebody from the planning commission could come to our meetings so that we can both be on the same page and we can continue to work forward. So thanks again, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anyone else from the public?
No, sir.
All right. Any reports from the commissioners? Seeing none, going forward, any reports from staff?
I would just like to remind everybody, and Leslie, be ready to jump in, that there's going to be a special council meeting tomorrow night, and they're going to be discussing the Seaside City budget, and there'll be initial comments about it, and it might be worth hearing what our council has to say. And I know it's a special meeting, so Leslie, if you could remind us of what time it is tomorrow?
It starts at 5:30 tomorrow evening, and if you'd like to take a look at what the proposed draft budget is, at this very moment, I'm putting it on the home page of our website. So in about 1 minute, you'll be able to access it and be able to see the line item detail of what we're proposing, but there'll be a more robust discussion tomorrow night at 5:30. It will be a webinar style. You are welcome to participate, or you can watch it on YouTube as well. And this one also will be broadcast on Channel 25 and the typical channels the city council meetings are on television.
Great. Thank you very much. Moving on to adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
I hear a second.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you again.
Have a good week.
Thanks,
Good night.
Michael.
Thank you.